All right, you life's fellow travelers. What you're looking at down in here uh, is the band switch gearbox or gears, and coming out of it this way, along here to the coils, and also this way. There's a quarter-inch wide flat shaft, and that goes through the gears. And what that does is when you turn the band switch, there's a 90-degree gear assembly, which then changes your rotation up here, up at the front of the radio, to turning here between the coils. Now, the gear has a flexible braid on it with a lug that's attached to the shaft. And what that's for is if you didn't have that on there, as you switch between bands, you'd hear a crackling noise because there'd be a floating ground in the radio or a floating piece of metal. The other reason is that piece of metal that goes between all the wafer switches runs between all the different sections, and signals would get on that piece of metal and they would mix. So you got to have that grounded. Now, in the manual, in order to remove the RF sections and the oscillator and all that, it tells you to take out. I'm trying to get it here. It just rolled backwards. Oh, come on. That's a million. This is worse than disappearing objects phenomenon. Oh, here it is. All right. That's what I mean about everything in life. It's stacked against you. All right, let me make sure it's still focused. All right, let me make sure this is focused. Yeah, my fingernails are still long. Let me see. I got enough light on it. Now it tells you to remove the set screw. And of course the camera don't like it. Look at this nonsense. All right, see that? They call that a set screw, and it says to remove the set screw. This isn't a set screw. This is a pin, and it goes into that shaft. All right, so if you just loosen this set screw, that rod will hit it. That rod will still be hooked into the gear. I just want to tell you that. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to start looking online for maybe an exploded view. That shaft that runs through this radio that I'm telling you about. Let's see if we can get the camera to look at it. Yeah, it's down in there. Let me point it out. It's right in here. Goes between the sections. Well, anyway, before I go any further, I really want to find, is there something more to this? That shaft will not move. I got the pin out, or the quote-unquote set screw, which isn't really, it's a set screw / pin. And I'm realizing the person that wrote up this new text about disassembly, it's very brief. He doesn't look at it as though you might have a problem, or I might have a problem, or another repairman might have a problem. But it is possible that there's a burr on the shaft where it goes through that hole. And that's what's keeping it from going back and forth. But right now, the shaft that goes through the oscillator, it goes this way and this way. It won't move back and forth. It's got a spacer on it, not a spacer. I can't remember the name of the thing. But in other words, it's got like something else that keeps it from moving back and forth. It's not the wafer switches. There's plenty of play in those. Oh, I can see everything jiggle, but it just won't slide out. And before I do anything more, I want to try to find an exploded view for this radio. So I'm running into one problem after another. The screws or bolts, they're brass, and in some places they're in aluminum, and some places they're in steel. And over 80 years, they froze up, so I had to use heat on them to get them apart. And I'm wearing out. I really am wearing out. Now this shaft is supposed to just slide out, and it's not. And you can't take the radio apart. These RF sections, the oscillator, you can't remove them from the radio until you get that shaft out. And then the other thing is there's 20 wires that go from the electronics in the radio up into these three sections, and 4 more wires that go over to the oscillator. So, and it tells you to make sure you label them. That's because there's no pictorial of them. See, the BC348 and the command radios, they're really documented. They really spell it out, how to fix the radio and that. Where this is, I guess the top guys would work on this. And then, I don't know. I just don't know. It's not your normal military. And maybe these were only made by maybe one company or two companies, where the command radios were made by 6 different companies or whatever. And everybody had a booklet, and there was a main booklet, and then everybody would do their booklet for their model and go in and make the changes. There was slight changes in some of the components they used. But, you know, oh, and this morning I turned on the computer. It took forever to get in Foxfire because Windows is updating something. And then when it updates, then Norton decides it wants to scan everything. So I'm fighting with that. And I'm hoping that this video comes out, because sometimes when it does that, my voice gets really slow in parts of the video, and I have to scrap the video. I think that's it. All right, that's it for now.